be seated.
Ready to resume?
Yes, Judge, thank you. All right, Detective Yeager, going back to what we were talking about on the June 19th date, 2014, you were given an iPhone 5, correct?
Correct.
I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 226. Right, Detective Yeager, do you recognize State's Exhibit 226?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize it?
Property control record number 231559 is for cell phone, Apple i5s cell phone.
And is that the cell phone that you actually conducted an extraction examination on the 19th of June, 2014?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, I tender State's Exhibit 226 at this time.
Any objection?
At this time, subject to our previous motions to the phone and contents.
All right, this will stay in place.
Now, Detective Yeager, when you did this examination, specifically with the iPhone, did you go through and was your job to go through and search everything in the phone or anything like that?
If I could just refer to my report here briefly. What I did was a logical extraction of everything on that cell phone.
And when you did that extraction, did you do any types of searches or anything like that? Or were you asked on the 19th, in addition to doing an extraction, to do a limited search for detectives?
Yeah, according to my report, I also found some additional information more specifically relating to the case than all the information on the cell phone.
And were you asked to look at contact logs, messaging from the day in question, and I guess issues regarding our conversations, communications between the defendant and his wife on the day in question?
Yes, I was. I found a specific contact they were looking for, a call log from the 18th to the 19th, and call logs between this device and Leanna Harris.
Now, other than that, did you ever do any searches on this specific device?
Not that that I recall. No.
I'm going to show you what I marked for identification. Well, let me ask you this. You, hold on a second. Detective Yeager, I'm showing you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 318. Do you recognize State's Exhibit 318?
Yes, it's a CD of an extraction of Ross's iPhone.
And have you recently reviewed the contents of this to verify that this is the extraction or report that you did on June 19, 2014 of the entirety of what you could logically on the phone?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I tender State's Exhibit 318 at this time.
Same ruling. It's submitted.
Now, Detective, IT was in here messing around with his TV earlier on break, so it looks like something is now not working right. So give me a second to see if I can get this working. I'm going to ask you a few questions just while we're doing this to try to get this process going along. You said you're looking at your reports. Did you do reports in this case?
I did.
Okay, and you commonly do reports to help you remember what happened back when you did the work on the case.
That's correct.
Okay. When did you do the report in this case?
I did an initial. When did I write this?
Yeah. When did you write the report?
This was about 3 months after the case, after the analysis was done.
Okay. So basically, the dates that you have in there, is that from your memory and notes from 3 months after?
Right. It would. As I was doing the analysis, I would be taking notes and then transcribe them into the formal report about 3 months later.
And specifically to the hard copy, did you provide a hard copy of some specific information to the detectives in this case?
I did.
Okay. And does your report list June 20th as the date that you've done
Yes,
that?
it does.
Okay.
It does.
Is it possible that you'd actually given them a hard copy or some sort of printout on the day before?
It's possible because I did receive the phone on the 19th.
Okay. Now, what tool did you use to acquire the information from the iPhone in this case, this iPhone 5 that we've looked at in the States 226?
I'm sorry.
What type of, what tool did you use? Was it the Celebrite you talked about earlier?
Yes, it was a Celebrite tool that I used to extract the information from that phone.
Okay. And after it's extracted, what tool or what type of, resource did you use to create the report? Are you familiar with UFED?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, UFED is just it's a universal file extraction tool is what it is. And it's part of the Celebrite package. You get a UFED tool with the Celebrite software. So it's just an extension of that application.
So is it is the UFED basically the style of the report that comes out? Or how would you?
We refer to the report as a UFED report because we use a UFED device with Celebrite in order to extract all the data. And basically the UFED is another small computer.
Now when you search for this information, this limited thing about contacts and things like that, or messaging from the day of, did you come across a name or anything of a contact that had messaging with the defendant on the date in question?
Yes, there was one particular contact by the name of Angie K., also known as Dark Phoenix 1982.
And was that one of the last messages that he had been communicating, or persons he had been communicating with on the day of the child's death?
It was a contact of interest for the investigating detective, so I would suspect that it was because of the fact that it was one of the last messages he had.
Okay. And do you remember if it was something that when you were going through the messaging that you actually you saw this and then you decided this was a contact, or something you've been provided, or you were even sure how you decided that this was something to pull?
I believe it was because of the messaging and that identification of Dark Phoenix that we looked for that specific contact.
Had the police had any access to UFED or anything like that at that point to be able to try to find this contact?
No.
Okay. And Your Honor, I'm going to publish State's Exhibits 226 and Mass Detective Yeager to step down. Thank you. What we're going to do, since you did a limited search in this, what I'm going to do is use this as an example to show the jury what you're talking about when you talk about a UFED report, so they can see how it shows up and how you can search it, okay? Now, what are we looking at here, Detective Yeager, as far as this first screen that comes up when you load the UFED report?
Okay, this is the information about the phone. I can't read specifically, but at the top, I believe it says Apple Advanced Logical Extraction, and it's information about either the serial number of the phone as well as the time of the date and time of the extraction.
And on this phone, the date was June 19, 2014.
Correct.
And the extraction end time was 11:06:04 a.m.
If that's what that says, that would be.
Let me ask you this: would it be easier for you to step over here and look at it from that side?
If I could.
I know this is kind of trial and error in this courtroom to see what works. So, all right. Looking at that, okay. What is the end time for the extraction?
So the end time is 11:06:04 a.m. on 6/19/2014.
Okay. So you finished this extraction that morning.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, when you were going through looking at what files are on the phone or things like that, what can you describe to the jury what these different folders are that we're looking at?
Right. These folders along the side here, for instance, it says analyze data. The first one here is calendar. So it says there's 373 calendar entries on this phone. The next one is call log. It says there's 216 calls that were logged on the phone, followed by chats, contacts, 644 contacts, emails, messages, as well as SMS, short messages. MMS messages are multimedia, would include a picture or a document with it. SMS messages is what you just text on your phone back and forth. If you send a picture, it's an MMS message. So these are all the types of data that were found on that phone.
And when you click on one of these, does it then give you a different window?
It does.
Okay, I've clicked the chat.
Correct. So what it's done is it's opened another tab here. It says chats, 42 of them, and it's 42 chats here. And what it does is it lists the chats that were on that phone.
Now going to looking at it, can you limit it based on a date?
You can.
Okay, and I've done it here just for the record, inputted 6/18/2014. Looking at that in chats, do you actually see the chat involving a Dark Phoenix 1982 Angie K from that date?
Correct. It's message number 42. It has one attachment, and it's between in Dark Phoenix 1982 or Angie K and Bama XH.
All right. And so when you actually go through and you can pull up these chats and things like that, can you generate, well, I guess you can if you can see this thing that says generate a report?
Yes, you can. You can generate. You can get subsets of all the information that's on here, then generate a report of just that information. Like he showed you, we selected only those on 618. Then you can generate a report, which we generally will either print out if it's small enough, or print out and put on optical disc for the investigating detective.
Okay. Thank you. You can have your seat. All right, Detective Yeager, after on that day having extracted the information from the iPhone, and in that regard, did you do any other searches of that phone, or was your job done as far as that phone? Was that did you eventually turn a disc over of that information to detectives?
I did.
All right, now I'm going to turn your attention next to the next day, June 20th, 2014. Did you, at that point, get involved with the rest of the devices, another number of devices that had been seized as a part of this case?
Yes, I did.
Okay, could you tell the jury the list or the types of devices that you actually retrieved on that day?
I worked on a Dell Dimension tower. Upon viewing it, there was no hard drive in the computer, so there was no data to be recovered.
So I think we've already seen that earlier today. Is that kind of a big tower we used to have?
It's a tower, and when we took the panel off the side, looked inside, there was no hard drive or any storage devices in there that would store data.
Okay, let me ask you just a couple of other, I'll turn your attention to some specific ones.
Okay.
Was there a Google Chromecast that was seized?
There was.
Okay. Were you able to get any information on that, or what did you realize about the device once you examined it?
A Google Chromecast is just a USB drive with a program on it. And other than the program, we found no data on that. And there was no tool to analyze what's on that device. So we found no evidence on that device.
I'm going to just go ahead. I know there's a number of other devices that were turned over to you that day. I'm going to turn your attention just specifically to certain devices, okay? First of all, starting with an Apple MacBook Pro, was there one that you actually did the analysis and extraction on?
There was, and that was one belonging to Leanna Harris.
Okay. And when you say it belonged to Leanna Harris, how are you able to determine that?
The user identified either externally or on a property sheet, or very possibly within the computer itself, named Leanna Harris.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 233. It's already been admitted. Ask you to take a look at State's Exhibit 233. Do you recognize it?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and how do you recognize it?
By the should be a property control record number. 664.
Okay.
Let me just check that. Yeah, okay, that is it.
And could you go ahead and take that out just to show the jury what this looks like? Okay, thank you. Tell the jury what process that you conducted to do your extraction on this particular device.
Just want to refer to my notes.
Sure.
Okay, I did perform an extraction, what we call an image extraction, where we copy every character for character from the beginning of the drive to the end of the drive to make a copy of that for analysis at a later date. The reason for that is we don't want to corrupt the existing evidence. We want to keep that intact, so we go through the process I talked about before of hooking the hard drive up to a write blocker, making the copy, then we use the copy to do the analysis. When we do the analysis, we don't change the data, but we do keep the original data intact. As an example, if I went into the operating system of the original device and I just looked at things, the Microsoft operating system updates about 6,000 files a minute just when you're browsing, even if you're not changing anything. So that's the reason that we work on the copy rather than working on the original.
And did you actually look through this for some data on the computer, not necessarily as far as internet searches or anything like that, but did you look for other like images, pictures, or documents and things of that nature?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And tell the jury how you did that.
Usually what we'll do is we'll go into, the jury I'm sure is familiar with the documents portion of your laptop. It's either documents and settings or a user folder, and then within that you'll have maybe a guest, and then your name, in my case maybe my folder's name, Ray Yeager, as well as other folders where you keep your documents. Okay. Well, within that, then I would go into that, and I went into the documents area and found documents that I thought might be of interest to the investigation.
And also, on the 27th of June, did you actually put this on a disk or a document?
I did. There's besides the NCASE tool that does the extraction and out of which we can do reporting, I used another tool called Internet Evidence Finder. And what Internet Evidence Finder does is it goes out and it looks for any artifact that is a remnant of using the Internet. Is it a URL, which is an address? If you say www.jcpenney.com, that's a URL address. Internet Evidence Finder would look for anything that either was a keyword searched on the internet or a URL typed or a URL that was actually visited from that computer. So I ran Internet Evidence Finder to create the artifact list of everything that had been on the internet on that computer.
So this is basically the extraction that you performed, and you turned this over to detectives.
I did.
Not only the documents and other things, but this would have had searches and internet things that you didn't actually search or look for, correct? Okay.
Correct.
Showing defense counsel what I marked for identification purposes, State's Exhibit 319. Detective, you identify State's Exhibit 319.
Yes.
Okay, how do you recognize that?
I recognize it because it has, well, first of all, it's got my name on it, it has the date it was done, the case number, also the original property number of the computer itself that was that was analyzed.
And have you reviewed that, and is that the actual copy of the extraction you did?
Yes, it is. It's my handwriting.
Your Honor, Tender States Exhibit 319.
Same objection, Judge.
Same ruling.
Now, Detective Yeager going to do, and not look particularly at anything since you didn't do the searching, but I'm going to publish States Exhibit 319 so you can explain what you mean by Internet Evidence Finder and how it shows up on a computer, okay?
Sure. Yes, sir.
All right. All right, shocked that worked. All right, Detective Yeager, would you step down for a second? Let's, I think it works easier if you're beside the screen explaining this
Okay.
other than us looking over at each other over the side there. All right, looking at what we have here, if you're going on this and you're wanting to look at the Internet Evidence Finder and things of that nature, where should I go to open that up?
Well, that index.html file, if you click on that, that'll bring it up. And HTML is just a language that's used to create web pages. So we create the document as a web page so that you can follow links on it.
Okay, and on this, what are we looking at? What does this show us?
This tells us the date it was created June 25th at 08:35. That would be AM, because it's a military 24-hour time. Has the case number and then the description of the device that was analyzed. 23664 was the property control of the evidence control record. Keep it in chain of custody, so it was a MacBook Pro on that. And then there are multiple partitions on it, and they're defined there.
And is that your name on it
That's
too?
my name, Zam.
Okay.
As examiner. And I didn't enter any specific notes on that.
Now, looking at the left side of this, what is in this left column here? Explain what we're looking at here.
Well, these are results of internet artifacts. They're specific URLs. There's cloud services, Facebook, Google Map queries, phishing URLs, which are usually malware type URLs. Parsed search queries, that would be any query that was deemed based on the algorithm of searching the data to be a search of an internet service.
Okay, and I kind of moved it on down.
Yep.
Just as far as these URLs or for social media, just divide it up by the different type of URLs
That's
by
right.
identifying what the information is.
Right.
Okay, looking at chat, what exactly? I think it's kind of self-explanatory, but
Right. iMessage chats are iPhone to iPhone message chats. QQ is a chat tool that's out there. These other things are things that are on the cloud
okay.
as designated by their format.
Now these other things, does that reflect backups from
Right.
Is that for a mobile phone, an iOS, or what is that mobile backup?
Yeah, iOS is an operating system for an Apple mobile phone.
Mhm.
So this is an address book backup of a mobile phone. It was done on this computer, as well as calendar, call logs, and the other items listed here.
And looking at browser activity, what does that show when you get down to browser activity? You go into Chrome, Firefox, and all these things. Generally, Internet Explorer, Safari, what can you find in these different types of things?
What you'll find is anything that was either entered or clicked on while you were in one of those browsers. So this is all browser activity, regardless of what the browser is. Then specifically Chrome is a browser that is a Google product. You can use that instead of Internet Explorer. And if you scroll down, there's Firefox is also a third-party browser that can be used in place of Internet Explorer. And Google Maps is also searching. Internet Explorer in private, what that does is private searching doesn't keep any cache or record of it anywhere that you've gone in there. However, some of those artifacts are still stored or deleted on the system, so they can be found. And then Internet Explorer is the one that's made by Microsoft that most everybody uses. Safari is one that's usually on your mobile devices, but is also available on computers as well.
Okay. Now, when you go to this, let's just look at just generally Facebook URLs. Okay? You click on this, what does it usually give you when you click on that?
What it'll do is it'll propagate over here all the URLs that were in that. It'll propagate on the right. So all the Facebook URLs, and you'll notice that in here it's www.facebook, so that's why it knows that they are Facebook URLs.
So, and if you have something like in the Internet Evidence Finder that you wanted to look for like specific words or things related to a case,
Right.
can you type that word in there and see what comes up?
Yeah, you can type the word in the search criteria, and as you type each letter, it'll narrow down the results that
Now,
you find.
now, does that actually help you find everything related to that specific topic if you research, or is it just something to kind of assist in starting it out?
It's an assistant starting.
Thank you. You can have your seat again.
Okay.
And I asked you, Detective, if you had if you had actually done some specific analysis and extracted some items and put them on a disk as well from the MacBook, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to turn your attention to State's Exhibit 320 and ask you if you recognize this.
Yeah, this is a forensic analysis report of multiple devices related to this case, created on August 6th.
And did you put that, when you say multiple devices, different computers and things that you had actually pulled from your limited searches and put it on one disk?
Correct.
Okay. Your Honor, I would tender State's Exhibit 320 at this time.
They moved.
I'm not going to publish this at this time. Okay, Detective, after you performed the MacBook extraction, I'm going to turn to another device. Did you actually examine a My Passport external hard drive?
I did.
Okay. Now, with the My external hard drive, tell the jury, I think most people may know what that is, but explain what a Passport external hard drive is.
What this is, it looks like a little square box. It's about an inch thick. And what it contains is a hard drive inside of it. It usually has a short cable that's a USB cable that you can plug into your computer, into your either tower or laptop, and then you can use that for storing. A lot of people will use it to store pictures or videos or do backups of their computer onto that.
Okay. Now, in this case, did you actually physically examine it on June 23rd? And you can refer to your report. I know there's a lot of stuff, so I'm sure you don't have free recall of it.
Yes, I did an examination, a physical examination, and took photographs on it. I didn't acquire that until July 8th.
And when you acquired it, did you get some information from that too, and just put it on a disk as well?
I believe so. According to my report, I didn't see that I did any extractions other than the acquisition.
Okay. And with the, would you run Internet Evidence Finder or anything like that on a hard drive,
Yeah.
external hard drive?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now, I'm going to turn your attention to a couple of other computers and things of that nature, showing you what's what's been marked as State's Exhibits 298, 299, and 300. They've already been admitted. All right, Detective, showing you State's Exhibits. First, we'll start with 298. You recognize that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, how do you recognize it?
The property control number, 250983, that is a SanDisk SD drive.
Now, that's already been admitted as something seized. Looking at that, did you actually find anything of note after searching 298?
I don't believe so.
Well, there are several items that you looked at and you did not find anything notable.
That's correct.
Okay, and what is a SanDisk 2 gig SD card?
SD card is, phones can have little additional storage. 2 gig is 2 gigabytes. SD card is just a serial disk. It's a small little chip that you can stick into your phone or into a computer and has additional storage.
And I'm going to show you now what's already been admitted as State's Exhibit 299, and another one of these that I think you didn't really find anything of note on.
Right.
Do you recognize that one?
Yes, I do.
And what is that?
It says a SanDisk Cruiser. One of these was mislabeled on the original, and I corrected it in my report. Let me just see. Yeah, this one is labeled correctly. It's the one I looked at previously. It said a SanDisk. It's really a PNY SD card.
And that, when you said the one that was mislabeled, we're talking about 298, correct?
Correct.
And 299, again, nothing notable found on that, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and talking about the external hard drive passport that you looked at,
Right.
just showing you what's already been admitted as State's Exhibit 300, is that what you were talking about?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. And eventually, later in August, were you provided an older, what you found to be was an old work laptop that had belonged to the defendant, he had used sometime a while back at Home Depot?
Yes.
Okay, and when you looked at that, tell the jury what type of device it was, what you did, and if you found anything of note.
This was, I believe, was a Lenovo ThinkPad. It was the second one we had received. It was owned by Home Depot, and it had a full disk encryption on it, so we had to get the encryption key back from Home Depot, which they provided us in order to extract the data off of it. And as I recall, we didn't find any additional data or evidence relating to the case on that.
And was this something that it appeared that basically the information, there wasn't any information on it? Like you turn something back in to a company and they get rid of stuff?
It's very possible, yeah.
Now, I'm going to turn your attention finally to were you provided something that you were informed was the defendant's work laptop Lenovo computer?
Earlier on, yes.
Yes. Okay. And tell the jury what day you actually started work on the Lenovo work computer.
On July 7th.
And Detective, I'll turn your attention back to the maybe earlier in the reports, is when you first got to it. I know you did several things on it.
Right. It looks like I recorded the date on the machine on 6/20.
Okay. And were you able to, other than physically examining the computer, were you able to do anything on that? Or was there something else you had to try to do on June 25th, 2014?
Yeah, on June 25th, we realized it was full disk encryption again. We got that the BitLocker key from Home Depot, and we're able to then apply that key to it to unencrypt the drive and then acquire the drive, which I did on June 25th.
Okay. And was this a laptop that had been found with the defendant on the day in question?
I believe it was in his possession.
Okay. Now, when you got the BitBlocker to decrypt it, did you contact any organization or business to get the code?
I contacted Home Depot.
Now, when you did that, did you do, like you did on the other things, a full extraction of it? And if you did, what type of device or what program did you use?
I used Encase forensic software and used that to acquire the entire contents of the hard disk drive.
And what date did you do that on?
I did that on June 25th.
And did you at some point transfer that to a disk and provide it to detectives, the entirety of it?
I did on June 26th.
Also, on this case, let me show you what's been previously admitted in State's Exhibit 304. Ask if you recognize this. If you do, tell me how you recognize it.
Okay, this is a Lenovo T530 laptop, and based on the property control record of 250984, that is the Lenovo T530 ThinkPad that I did the analysis on.
Okay. And could you just remove that? I'll remove it for you. And just show the jury what you're talking about, what type of computer it is.
So it's just a laptop computer with the hard drive, so probably in here.
Okay. Thank you. Now, thank you, sir. In addition to doing the extraction, did you do any detailed searching of this, or did you do any other limited searching, just kind of on the fly in this case?
I did an internet evidence find. I'm sorry. Yeah, I did an internet evidence finder on that, and that's similar to what we looked at previously to find internet artifacts that were on that computer.
Okay. And on the 26th of June, did you do a report on some limited things that you located?
I did. I found 5 URLs or 5 accesses of a social media site called Reddit, R-E-D-D-I-T.
And what was the, I guess, what tied into or brought your attention to that specific URL as far as what the, I guess, the label after the Reddit was?
Well, because the case had to do with child abuse and homicide, more than likely it entered like we showed you, a search by date. I entered the term child and found 5 accesses to Reddit with the term child free, one word.
Okay. Now, did you actually on July 25th, create a disk that had selected data, both pulled from what you described as Leanna Harris's MacBook, and also the things that you just talked about from the defendant's work laptop?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to show defense counsel what I've marked by identification purposes in State's Exhibit 16. Okay, detective, showing you State's Exhibit 321. Do you recognize this?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize that?
It has my name, it's in my handwriting, and it says Forensic Analysis Report, Leanna MacBook and Lenovo LT Select Data.
And is that the disk that you actually transferred the information you were talking about just previously regarding your specific limited search on the Lenovo and the ones on the MacBook?
Yes, I do believe so.
Your Honor,
Yes, it is.
I tender State's Exhibit 321.
Same ruling.
Detective Yeager, could you just step down for a second and see if we can keep unplugging things and keep it back to coming back on the screen? All right, Detective Yeager, looking at this, which file would we go under to find the limited things that you were talking about that you created for the Lenovo?
They were on the Lenovo, so you click on that folder and there should be a file inside there. And if you click on index.html, that'll bring that report up.
Okay. Now, looking at this file, to show the results, can you explain to the jury, if I showed you, did you create something where you can explain to them what it was you actually found?
Yeah, this is a report, as I said earlier, you can do searches and create sub-reports, so it doesn't include all of the information, but only that information that is pertinent to the search or the inquiry that you've made against all of that data.
Okay. And you said you found 5 results involving this. Which different thing on the left should I click for you to actually look at
I think if you click on Firefox Web History,
Okay.
and there's 1, 2, there's
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 entries, and they were all. Okay. So if you scroll all the way to the top, if you could, this says whether or not that was actually typed in or if it was clicked on. And this first entry was actually typed in. The rest of them were just clicked on because they existed already.
So when you say typed in, what would it have been that would have been typed in?
What would have been typed in is reddit.com, everything from, you don't have to type in the HTTP : / but everything to the right of that would have been typed in order to find that.
Now, the rest of the things, would those have been just things that would have been clicked on after going to that site?
Yes, more than likely. You know, this one, the second one looks like it's almost the same time as the previous one.
Okay. And this next
They're
one?
all in succession, it seems to be, because they're within seconds. This is about 5 minutes later.
Okay. And
And
the
2
last one
minutes
is about
later.
2 minutes later? Okay. And just looking at these, after this, the second one is, it looks like a general reddit.com r child free, similar to the one before. Okay. Looking at the other 3, what would have been the, I guess, the descriptions of the different things that were on that website? Like,
Well, the information out here is what would be searched for in going to that site. And like I say, when I say search, it could be an icon, it could be a statement that you click on, and that would be the search criteria that it looked for. So this one would be IUD, ultrasound on Facebook, a bunch of pissed off.
and the next one?
This one would be they're searching for bingo by a convicted felon.
And last one?
The last one is dating is nearly impossible.
And all these things, it could have been, once on this site, you just click different icons or I
Correct.
guess descriptions, titles, things like that of articles.
Right,
or
because
something
those
that
weren't
they-
typed in, they were accessed by clicking something on the screen that brought them to that location.
All right, thank you. You have your seat. And Detective, other than doing that limited search and finding that, did you do any other searches of the Lenovo computer or anything in detail, or did you just turn over the main extraction to the detectives in this case?
I believe there was an internet evidence finder extraction, of which that what we just looked at was a subset, and I turned everything else over to the investigating detectives for their further analysis.
So any other analysis of searches or anything like that would have been something they'd have done, not something you would have done on that specific device that was the defendant's Lenovo computer?
Correct.
Okay. All right. All right, that's all I have.
If I can have a moment just to get set up a little bit.
Please.
While I'm getting started, can I go ahead and have the full extraction of the devices that you talked about with me? Yes. Thank you. Good morning, Detective Yeager. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I appreciate you explaining all of the hard technical stuff already. I don't have to go plow through all of that information with you. I can just go straight to what items of evidence you found on the devices that you analyzed.
Okay.
You didn't find any information on any devices that you analyzed that supported Leanna Harris being a suspect in this case?
No,
You didn't?
I wasn't looking for that data, that information. That was pretty much up to the investigating detectives.
Well, you looked for notable files or files of specific interest based on information that detectives gave you, correct?
I selected the notable files because some of them contain names and addresses of people that would have been familiar, I would have thought would have been familiar with the suspect and his wife because they were kept on their computers in some form, and I thought that might have been contact information for the investigators.
Just as an example, you created a specific report for child free because this was an allegation of child abuse.
Correct.
Right? You didn't find anything of child free related to Leanna Harris.
No, I did not.
Right? You didn't find anything related to child abuse with Leanna Harris.
Not on any of the devices, no.
And she's not a suspect, correct?
As far as I know, yes.
She's not charged in this case.
Correct.
She's never been charged. Okay? Yet you picked through her computer, top to bottom, side to side. You got bit by bit a copy of her computer, correct? And you found nothing to support her being a suspect in this case.
I did not analyze the entire computer myself. As I said, I selected some files, but the rest of it I left, like the internet evidence finder information, I left for the investigating detectives for them to look through.
You looked through the computer enough to find documents that were of interest to you. Okay? Did you limit your search of that computer?
I limited to whatever would be relevant to the charges, which were child abuse and homicide.
Okay. So that would include photos.
Correct.
That would include documents. That would include internet activity.
Correct.
That would include backups to the phone or the computer if the phone is connected.
Correct.
You talked about that on direct. That would include practically any activity on a computer could potentially have evidence relevant to an allegation of child abuse or murder.
Correct.
Okay? So it's fair to say, when you were looking for specific information to create sub-reports, you're looking at everything, all the data.
It's all available, but I guarantee you I didn't look at everything.
What didn't you look at in regards to
Well,
Leon Harris?
There's probably a lot of images, videos that I probably didn't look at. But in this case, the number of devices involved,
Right?
let me just,
Looking
Sure.
at that, I mean, in your 7 years, can you remember a case with this many devices and this much data for high-tech crimes to go through?
oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're used to this. I mean, you
It's
guys are
not,
very
we don't get them every week, but, probably every 6 months we have a large case like that.
So you're well equipped to handle all of these devices.
We're equipped to handle, and we do what we have to do to get the job done, yeah. Okay, so we had 2 cell phones, a tablet, 4 PCs, 4 storage devices, meaning SD cards or passports, and then 8 optical discs, of which I personally performed analysis on 1 cell phone, 3 PCs, 4 storage devices, and 8 optical discs. So I did not do 1 cell phone, 1 tablet, and 1 PC.
Okay.
There was a total storage of 1.5 terabytes. Okay, so that's 1.5 trillion characters.
Is that a lot or?
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Okay.
So all I'm saying is, I didn't look at all 1.4 trillion characters.
Did somebody?
Probably not.
Okay. So are you saying that it's possible for evidence to have been missed?
No, what I'm saying is that with the tools that we have, the search tools, we can limit of those 1.5 terabytes.
Okay.
A lot of that may have been operating system files,
Okay.
which we just put aside unless there's something suspicious that an extension has a file has an extension like a doc file and it's really a picture, and NCASE will document those.
Okay. So, I'm not able to do it nearly as well as you. Explain to the jury, why are operating files not going to be of interest to you to look at?
Operating system files?
Yes, sir.
Because it's what causes the computer or the phone to operate, and unless there's some indication that there's something hidden in them, we won't look at them.
Okay. And you never had an indication that there was anything hidden in any of the operating system files?
No.
Okay. Do you know how that would be done? How someone would hide evidence or hide activity in operating system files?
Yeah, let's say you have a video and you change a video might be called .mpg,
Right.
okay? Well, they may change the extension to .exe, okay? So it's a video,
Right.
but it doesn't have the correct extension on it, so if you go to try to look at it on your computer, it won't play because players only look at MPG files, okay? So NCASE has a process where they not only look at the extension, but they look at the prefix to the file, okay? And if the prefix to a movie has a specific identifier to it, so the NCASE looks at operating system files for any of those prefixes that may be a document, a spreadsheet, a movie or a video, and then it highlights those or flags those for the analyst to look at specifically.
And in this case, you didn't find any evidence that files were hidden or modified within operating system files.
Right.
Now, it's fair to say then that what you're focused on, what you're looking at, are files that reflect the activity of a user, right?
Yes.
operating system files don't necessarily reflect the activity of the user. It's just the computer or the electronic device doing its thing,
Right,
right?
right.
And so the 1.464 terabytes, you don't have to look at every single byte. You're really just focusing on files or information that reflect the user's activity.
Right.
Now, let me start with the iPhone 5S. This was admitted on direct, and you were given, you're familiar with a high-tech crimes examination submission form, right?
Yes, I am.
Can you tell the jury a little bit about the use and purpose of this form?
Being that we service an entire police department of about over 500 sworn officers, all of whom can encounter digital devices that need to be analyzed, and we also provide service to other cities within our county, of which we have 6 cities, as well as doing work for other agencies outside of our county. We've even been involved with cases from the Secret Service that we've assisted on. So what we've done is we've created a form that says, I'd like to request services of high tech to analyze the phone. And what we do is we keep those to keep track of the requests so that we can handle them in a timely fashion. And also prioritize them based on the severity of the case.
Okay. And in this case, you received a high-tech crimes examination submission form from one of the detectives in the case, correct?
I would assume so.
You'd assume so. It's kind of standard operating
If
procedure.
they don't give us one when they come with the request,
Yeah.
we'll create one. Okay, so it's a logging mechanism.
So there isn't a device that you examine that doesn't have a corresponding submission form?
No, not true.
Not true.
Not true.
Okay.
We could get requests, and they may say, it may just say 6 cell phones, or it may say 2 storage devices or 2 PCs. The form isn't so specific that it lists every device. What's specific is the evidence control records.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Judge, may I approach? I'm handing you what's been pre-marked as Defendant's Exhibit 2929.
Mm-hmm.
You recognize that document?
I do.
And is it a fair and accurate
Yes.
copy of the high-tech crimes examination submission form that you received regarding the iPhone 5S?
It is.
I'll move D29.
Okay.
Admitted.
And Detective Yeager, there is a portion of the form
Mm-hmm.
that allows the detective that is requesting analysis of this device. May I see that? Judge, may I publish?
Mm-hmm.
There's a section of this form, okay, that allows the detective requesting examination of a device to limit what to look for, specifics of what to look for, correct?
Right.
Okay? And it says, briefly describe what is to be searched for, keywords, images, etc.
Right.
Okay? What were you asked to look for specifically on the iPhone 5S?
I don't recall. I have to look at that.
All data.
Okay. Hold that.
All data, right? You're tasked to look at everything on this phone. Correct?
That's not a task for me to do. That's a task to define what they're looking for. And the purpose of that is that if there's something specific that they're looking for, that we may be able to assist using technology rather than using thumbs and pens and paper, we can do that.
So what specifically were they looking for on this iPhone?
They wanted to get all the data on the iPhone.
They're looking for everything.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
That same form references a search warrant number, correct?
Correct.
And you testified on direct that you don't want to step on anybody's constitutional rights, correct?
Right.
So you'll look at the search warrant to determine parameters, what to look for, what areas of a device to go into, and what areas of the device to not go into.
Well, we can't limit what areas we do or don't go into.
You
When we
can't.
make a complete copy, we make a complete copy.
You can't limit what areas to go into,
If we make a copy of the entire device,
right?
we have a copy of the entire device.
Okay. Well,
And we do that, understand, for the reason that should the original evidence become unusable, which has happened in the past because it may be wiped, or the battery may die and not be recoverable, or it may get lost, whatever. So we have a copy of the entire device. So then what that allows us to do is not corrupt the original evidence.
Okay.
Okay, so any searching we do on the copy, not on the original.
So to avoid violating someone's constitutional rights, you can make an exact duplicate copy of the data on a device, right? Could you make a more limited in scope copy of the exact copy that you made so that you don't go into files and areas of the device that don't correspond with the parameters in the search warrant or in the...
Well, the
in the
parameters of the
request form?
search warrant, they were looking for evidence of second child abuse, or cruelty to child, second degree, and homicide.
Okay, which search warrant are you looking at?
559.
559 or 599?
Well, both of them, 599 and 559.
Okay.
Both, as a matter of fact, all the search warrants we had the same charges on them.
Did you look at these search warrants?
I looked at them for the charges and be sure the device was, that they were requesting was on there.
Well, what about the investigation and the specific facts that are being sworn to by a detective? Do you look at that portion of the search warrant?
Not unless they bring it to our attention that there's something specific that they're looking for.
Okay, was it brought to your attention in this case?
That there was something specific, not that I recall.
Okay. Well, I thought you said on direct that child-free was something specific brought to your attention.
I believe, I don't recall how I got child-free, but I suspect, since it was a child abuse case, that I entered child as a search term and child-free came up.
Okay. You said that Dark Phoenix was a term that was brought to your attention.
Correct.
Okay. So there was information brought to your attention by
Oh, yeah.
detectives in this case.
Yes.
Okay. And specifically, you were informed that he, as in Ross Harris, during an interview, stated that he recently researched through the internet child deaths inside vehicles and what temperature it needs to be for that to occur, correct?
What's your question?
You were informed.
No.
You weren't informed of that? Would it surprise you to know that it was in the search warrant that you were tasked to look at the phone and the search warrant related to that device?
Judge, I'm going to object at this time. I think we handled the search warrant issues at a prior hearing on this. I don't believe this is relevant to what was found.
Judge, may I respond? Detective Yeager was tendered as an expert, and he testified that his analysis is relative to what a search warrant allows him to do. I think I can absolutely cross-examine him thoroughly, and conduct a sifting examination of the basis of his opinion and what he did in the case.
Yes,
Judge, I would say, yes, he can ask him about what he did on it, but going into what the parameters are legally of it, I don't believe that is fair game for this.
I don't think that was the question. I'll allow whatever objection.
You agree that you were provided with this very specific information in this search warrant that corresponds with the device that you examined.
Again, I don't read the details of every search warrant. What we look at is that the device is there, what are the charges, and then if something is brought to our attention that we need to specifically search for, we will. But no, I don't read. If you look at this case, we had probably 32 search warrants, and I didn't read through every one of those.
Okay. Well, let me just ask you very directly. Was it ever brought to your attention that Justin Ross Harris made statements regarding details about criminal charges, making detectives suspect that he may have researched the penalties for a case such as this or specific criminal charges such as murder?
Was I made aware of that?
Yes, sir.
When I first got the phone, I may have heard that over days after receiving some of the devices in conversation, but that was not something that was ever directed to me to say, look for this. Okay?
You weren't directed to look for this on June the 19th, 2014?
To look for,
Or
To look
you weren't
for what?
you weren't to look for all data, we know that.
Oh, yeah.
Look for all data, and then you were specifically made aware of the statements that the male suspect also made regarding details about criminal charges, making us suspect that he may have researched the penalties for a case such as this or specific criminal charges such as murder.
and the question is,
You were
was
made
I
aware of that on June the
in
19th.
the search warrant, yeah. But like I say, I didn't read all of those.
Were you made aware that during the investigation, the parents, that being Justin Ross Harris and Leanna Harris, made statements that they have researched in-car deaths over the internet, what the temperature has to be and how long it takes? Were you made aware of that on June the 19th, 2014?
On June the 19th, no.
Okay. I'm showing you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit 30. You recognize that as the high-tech crimes examination submission form,
I
correct?
do.
And it is a fair and accurate copy of the one you received in regards to this case, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So it states that, so I didn't recall that.
Okay. You were, well, Judge, I'll move D30.
No objection.
Admitted?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
You were, in fact, made specifically aware that on June the 19th, 2014, that during the investigation, the parents of the deceased child made statements that they have researched in-car deaths over the internet.
Okay.
Right? Again, we know that your task was to extract all data from the iPhone 5S, okay, specifically to that device. You found no searches for in-car deaths over the internet. Isn't that true?
I didn't look for them.
You wouldn't look for the very information that you were provided in this form?
What I provided was an Internet Evidence Finder, which provided all the artifacts of any Internet searches or queries,
Okay.
and then provided to the investigating detectives for them to research.
Well, you already said that because this was a child abuse case, okay, you looked for anything related to child.
Right, and I didn't find anything related to child upon my analysis.
Okay.
Okay, so that's why I turned over the rest of the extract of the Internet Evidence Finder to the investigating detectives for them to search further.
Okay, so to be clear, your analysis did not identify any searches on the iPhone 5S related to researching in-car deaths.
My analysis, correct.
Okay,
Correct.
so we'll wait to ask the other detectives that received the examination form whether they found something, okay? Fair? You provided hard copies of reports to Detective Murphy regarding your initial extraction and analysis of the phone, the iPhone 5S.
Right.
and you were provided information regarding a Dark Phoenix. That was like a username,
Correct.
right? You provided a hard copy of the call log for June the 18th, June 19th.
Correct.
You provided call log of calls between the iPhone 5S and Leanna Harris.
Correct.
You didn't provide any other hard copy reports at
From
that
that-
time.
No, from that phone, no.
Isn't it true that on that iPhone 5S there were videos of Cooper Harris?
There may have been.
You'd agree that that's relevant to this case about Cooper Harris?
Also,
The videos of Cooper Harris.
Judge, I'm
There
not
are videos of-
He's asking about something. He said he limited his search to just the stuff from that day. He didn't do further searches, so this is all speculation. It's nothing he has a basis in personal knowledge of.
Well, that specific question is speculative, but he can explore this area if he wants. But I sustain the objection as to that question, but not the topic particularly.
You limited your search on this iPhone 5S by the parameters in the evidence submission form.
right?
All data. All data would include videos, correct? Okay. Now, evidence about or that depict Cooper Harris may have evidentiary value that is relevant to an investigation of the death of Cooper Harris, correct?
It may, yeah.
It may. Right. But you did not provide a specific report that included all of the videos that Ross Harris had on his phone of Cooper Harris.
That's correct.
I believe on direct you testified that you had no further activity on that iPhone 5S after you provided those very, very specific reports. Is that true?
No, there was some activity afterwards.
Okay. What did you do in your investigation specific to this iPhone 5S after June the 19th, 2014?
On July 25th, I created a CD with that information on it. The same, similar information to what I provided hard copy on June 19th.
Okay. And was that the last thing that you did regarding the investigation of this phone?
Now, on January 20th of 15, I had done another report,
You did another report,
yes,
same phone.
of all the information on the phone.
And between those two reports that you created on the same phone, Celebrite had a more recent version of their software, correct?
I don't know, but I would assume that that's probably likely.
It allowed you to categorize and see more information on that phone, correct?
I'm not sure.
Well, why was the second one done then?
Well, there was I was working with another detective in our unit,
Who's that?
Detective Smith, R.B. Smith.
Okay.
And at one point, I had requested that he create a disc of the report of the extract I had done. And evidently, we had multiple extracts for the same phone in an attempt to ensure that we got all information. And upon looking at the report that he created, I realized that the report that he created was from a different extraction than the one I had originally reported on the phone back on on July 25th.
June 25th?
Well, the extraction was done on, the full extraction was actually done on July 15th.
July 15th.
Correct.
So you're saying that the results of your initial examination weren't matching up with, or your report weren't matching up with the initial extraction?
No, with the extraction that he had chose to do the report on.
Okay. So how many extractions were done in this family?
I believe there were 2.
Just 2.
That's, as far as I have in my reports, I believe there were 2.
And how many forensic analysis reports did you create based on the data contained on the iPhone 5S?
I created 2, one a subset on July 25th, and then one of everything on the phone on January 23rd of 2015.
Okay. And January 23rd of 2015, you weren't fully retired. You were still working.
7 days away.
7 days away.
Right.
Okay. Have you done anything as far as participating in the investigation of this case after you retired in January of 2015?
Other than participate in the motions hearing and today, that's it.
That's it. Okay. The forensic analysis report that you created in January of 2015 was a more comprehensive forensic analysis report than one that had been done previously.
No, it was the one I had done previously.
This is the one that we saw.
That was a subset.
That was a subset.
Right, that was not the whole thing. I had done an extraction on July 15th is when I did the full extraction. The report I created on the hard copy on June 20th was a subset that we saw, okay? And the CD I created on July 25th was also a subset.
July 15th.
July 25th was a subset. That's the report of the CD I created on July 25th. And on July 15th is when I did the full extract.
July 15th, you did a full extraction. Okay. And so the first forensic analysis report of the full extraction, July the 15th, 2014, was in January of 2015?
The first full report of that? Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
And so that full report is a more comprehensive picture of the bit-by-bit copy that you did on the iPhone 5S.
Yes.
And it's more comprehensive than the one that the state showed on direct. Correct?
The one the state showed was a subset.
Was a subset.
Right.
So the full report that you did in January shows more information about that phone than what we saw earlier.
Yeah, because what we saw earlier was just specific terms that were selected and reported on.
What were those terms that you specifically selected to do a smaller, less comprehensive report?
This is contact for Dark Phoenix,
Okay?
call logs on June 18th and 19th,
Okay?
and all calls between that phone and Leanna Harris.
Okay. So you didn't look for websites visited?
No,
You didn't look for search terms typed on the phone?
no.
Even though you were told that terms were searched, topics were searched, correct?
Right.
Did you ultimately look at all of the search terms, all of the web visits that you could generate from the iPhone 5S?
Did I look at them and analyze them?
Yes, sir.
No.
Okay. Did you create a report that provided all of that information?
The only report that I see was created was the Celebrite UFED report, which was all the data on the phone. I don't recall if I did an Internet Evidence Finder report on that.
Okay. Would the forensic analysis report that you created, the UFED, in January of 2015, would it allow a detective or yourself to look at websites visited
Yes.
on that phone? Would it allow you to look at search queries? Okay? That is, words that were typed in a search bar on the phone. Images, correct?
Yes.
Photos. That full report has as much information as you can possibly get from that phone using that software
At that time.
at that time.
Yes.
During your examination, you talked about typing in the word child to see if any relevant file or relevant hit would come up for the word child, right? Did you search for a defense attorney?
No.
Did you search for a divorce lawyer?
No.
Alimony?
No.
Divorce?
No.
Murder?
I may have searched for murder. I don't recall.
And you found nothing?
I don't recall if I searched for it. I don't recall if I did, if I found anything.
If you were examining a phone in a murder case, okay, and you found something related to murder, would that be the sort of thing that you'd create a specific subset report about?
More than likely, yes.
You didn't in this case.
I did not.
Did you search for homicide?
Not that I recall.
Cruelty to children?
No.
Child deaths inside vehicles? I'm sorry,
No.
the court reporter needs a response.
Child deaths would have shown up with child.
Okay. And it didn't?
So I didn't.
It didn't?
Didn't find any, no.
No child deaths?
On the phone.
All right. And we'll talk about the other devices right now. I'm just
Sure.
focused on the iPhone. Hot car deaths?
No.
Child deaths?
No.
That would have come up when you did child.
More than likely.
Temperature?
No.
Hyperthermia?
No.
Malicious intent?
No.
How to survive in prison?
No.
Never. Never searched.
Not that I recall, no. If I had searched for it and I had found anything, it would be in my report.
You'd create a report about that?
Right.
Okay. Legal defense?
To answer all your questions, if I had searched for them and I had found them, they would be in my report. So either I didn't search for them, or if I did, I didn't find them, therefore they're not in my report.
Well, so the record is clear and so that the jury understands specifically, you didn't search for or find anything related to legal defense.
Correct.
Okay. Mistake of fact.
I did not.
Accident.
Did not.
Forgotten baby syndrome.
Did not.
Did not. Did you investigate the context in which the child-free web visits were made?
I did not.
Did anyone?
I don't know.
Judge Madbridge.
It's a good time to break for lunch, plus it's here, so that makes it even better, doesn't it? Close your notepads. leave them in your jury room, open mind, no conversation about the case, and y'all are gonna have a good lunch.
It's all right with jury, please. Please watch your step going down.
We'll break till 1:30, y'all have a good lunch. We'll stay until I'm allowed to leave.
Sorry.
Maybe not, I don't know. Right now, it's 1:30.
It could impact the lunch breaks.
I'll do what I'm told.
Trying to catch up with him. Close that door behind you.
It's a quick administrative matter, Judge.
Yes.
I was contacted by your clerk, Mr. Phillips, yesterday. We've been
Please
periodically
be seated.
accessing evidence during the breaks to assist with the orderly presentation of the case. Out of an abundance of caution, he asked that we prepare an order that would allow us to continue to do so during breaks so that we can keep our case moving in an orderly fashion. So I have a proposed order.
I appreciate you doing that. He mentioned it to me, and I said, y'all get something together.
It comes from the clerk's form. I got it from Miss Lisa Blaylock, and I just kind of edited it a little bit.
Very good. You have a problem with that, Mr. Vogel?
I just want to make clear exactly what piece of evidence we're talking about. I don't think that order is specific.
It's not, and it varies so far. For example, we took electronic devices yesterday, and when we met with Detective Yeager, I should say, when Mr. Bourne met with Detective Yeager, we had those electronic devices in the disc so that he could review them, assist with the presentation this morning. So it is not specific, but that's an example of what we might do.
Well, in that case, we're not satisfied with that order.
Okay.
Because that does not tell us what is leaving this courtroom and is in the possession of the district attorney's office after it has been tendered and admitted into evidence.
I think that you all need to talk about this and take a look at the order and see what kind of mashing it needs. And if y'all can't agree, then I will take it up. And I think that lunch is a good time to do that. And it sounds like you want to, have this in order to do some work during lunch? Then you need to both look at it right now.
We don't need to do it at lunch today, but during at least one break over the weekend, we're going to want access to the evidence, so we can discuss that.
Okay, y'all need to talk about it first. And then if you can't reach an agreement, bring it to my attention. And we can certainly deal with it today.
Thank you, Judge.
Well, we'll have to deal with it today. So here it is, and I've got it.
Take a look at everything.